Atma, the self. Why can't there be a subject beyond the I or the Atma? The I or Atma, as the ultimate subject, does not know that it knows or that it is the subject. This I or Atma refuses to be objectified under all conditions, and therefore there cannot be another subject knowing this. Why do I not visualize Atma? Who asks the question? If it is the ego, it can never visualize Atma. And if it is the true I principle or consciousness in you that asks the question, that I is Atma itself, and shall neither want nor be able to visualize Atma, because you cannot be the subject and object simultaneously. Is Atma beyond both the presence and absence of objects? Thoughts and feelings and such are like pictures on the wall of Atma. Their presence and absence must both vanish if you want to see the background reality that is Atma. There is no container in you to hold a series of past thoughts or subtle objects in readiness for any future remembrance. Thought can have neither a gross object nor a subtle object. So thought is objectless, and hence it is pure consciousness itself. Well, if Atma is unaffected, then why cannot I live as I choose? What does it matter to you if Atma is unaffected? You are miserable only when you are affected, and it is only then that you seek a remedy. Or in other words, it is only then that you earnestly want to be unaffected. For this, there is absolutely no other means except to be the Atma itself. Know that you are that and be free. Attachment and non-attachment. It seems that at the same level in which you get attached, you can never get detached. Detachment is to be gained not by being detached from a few of the objects perceived, but from the whole world of objects which manifests itself in that level as an integral whole. In other words, you are to become detached from that level itself. And this can never be achieved by confining yourself to that level alone. Nor is it possible to become detached from all objects separately, one by one. Therefore, the only means to gain complete detachment is for the subject to take his stand in a higher plane, and from there view the world. Then you will see that the former world, with all its questions arising on its own level, altogether disappears. This is how attachment in the dream world is transcended, by the subject changing over to the waking state. But how to get over attachment? Even when you say you are attached, you are really detached. From the height of happiness or misery in one state, you pass into its opposite in another state in the course of a few moments. And it happens in reverse also. And soon after, you pass into deep sleep, divorced of all ideas of body, senses, and mind. This shows beyond doubt that you are really unattached to anything in any state. If you are really attached to anything, that attachment should continue with you in all the states in which you happen to be. But that is not the case. Therefore, it proves that in your real nature, you are not attached. Know it and take note of it. That is all that is needed. Take that line of thinking and you will find that this mistaken notion of attachment will leave you very soon. What is disinterested action? Has it any test? Disinterested action is not possible for the ego. An action becomes disinterested only when you stand as the witness beyond the doership and enjoyership. The renunciation of enjoyership, the fruits of action, takes you only halfway to the truth. The other half, the doership, has next to be renounced if the action is to be made strictly disinterested. There is no definite standard or test by which the disinterestedness of an action can be ascertained, because all standards and tests are mental, and disinterestedness concerns only the witness which is beyond the mind. The activity of the Jivan Mukta, which is disinterested action, cannot on the surface be distinguished from that of an ignorant man. Something vague can be said about disinterested action, but all that will only be a mere caricature of the truth. There are, however, several tests and characteristics by which actions that are not disinterested can be distinguished. Disinterested actions do not create a habit. At the same time, they are performed with the greatest care and attention to detail. If you cannot exploit a particular action for subsequent pleasure or pain, that action may also be considered disinterested. The mere memory of such actions does not awaken any spirit of interest in you. Whereas interested actions have exactly the opposite effect. They bring other thoughts or feelings in their train, and they create all sorts of habits. If an action lacks any perfection in any way, or if its memory tends to create any kind of interest in you, you may be quite sure that such actions are also interested. If the action was prompted by the ego in the form of samskaras or vasanas, the habit-driven tendencies, or if the action was done to the satisfaction of the ego, such action is also interested. Om. Can you speak of the significance of Om? Om has three distinct parts, A, U, and M, and they represent the waking, dream, and deep sleep state experiences. Examining each part separately, you find that each part is a twisted manifestation of pure sound, which represents Atma, the ultimate reality. It is the sound itself that appears twisted as A and U and M. This sound is thus in a manifestation between the three parts and beyond them. Knowing that this pure sound represents Atma, the real I principle as pure consciousness, if you repeat or listen to the repetition of Om, you will get more and more firmly established in reality. I shine in my real nature between all mentations or thoughts and beyond all mentations. Can you speak of pranava yoga? Of all paths of yoga, the pranava yoga exercises, that is, the meditation on the mantra Om, takes one nearer to the ultimate truth. But still, one has to listen to the truth directly from the lips of the Guru in order to visualize it. Background. The apparent variety must prove the existence of something changeless as its background. Analyzing the variety and reaching the so-called background, its backgroundness also vanishes, and you stand absolute in your real nature, which was merely called the background in relation to the appearance. What is it that manifests? Every perception, quality, or attribute wants a permanent background for its existence. This background is the reality itself. To denote reality, we give it a name, but still this background remains as that which transcends the senses and mind. It cannot be called unknown. I say it is even more than known, not by the senses or minds, but by consciousness, the real I principle. Thus, the background of everything is the one reality itself. When you say that the unknown exists, it means that you have known it. When the mind says that there is something transcending the mind itself transcends its realm and stands as pure consciousness and knows that something as real. Qualities cannot subsist independent of a permanent background. In the subjective realm, there is such a changeless, deathless, permanent principle as the background, and that is the I principle, pure consciousness. It is the presence of this permanent subjective background that prompts you to search for a corresponding permanent background behind the objects as well. Examining the objective world from the standpoint of this I principle, you come to such a permanent background behind objects also. These two backgrounds meet and are one in reality. What we call an object is the real background, which is unknown, and a heap of qualities superimposed upon that background, and those qualities alone being known. The qualities themselves come and go, and do not go into the make of the object. So the object is, in fact, only that unknown and unqualified background. Thus, every object is only that unknown background. There cannot be two unknowns either, because even in order to distinguish between the two, we must know them. So there is only one unknown, and that is yourself. And it is the background of yourself as well. That is the only reality, Atma, ever free. Know that and be free. A changeless screen is needed for the manifestation of forms and their movements upon it. Likewise, a changeless background is needed for the manifestation of the changing universe upon it. This background is the real I principle, pure consciousness. And if you attempt to seize a person on the screen, it is really the screen alone that is seized and not the person. Likewise, when any part of the universe is seized, that is perceived, it is the background reality that is seized, because it is the reality that shines. A thought form or a subtle object can never be of a gross object, and knowledge can never be of a thought form, because they are all in three distinct and separate planes, where one plane can never transgress into another without losing its identity. Perception is always in terms of the instrument used, and the object of perception is always in the perception itself. In a similar way, the object of knowledge is always in knowledge, jnana. And jnana is not affected by the thing known. So there is knowledge and knowledge alone, without reference to the thing known. This is the ultimate truth, or Atma, your real nature. Objects cannot exist independently of the senses, nor the sense perceptions independently of the mind, nor the mentations or thoughts independently of consciousness. Therefore, all is consciousness, or Atma. When a perception vanishes, the object perceived also vanishes and ceases to exist in any form whatsoever. Just like the objects of the dream that has passed. Therefore, that object can never be connected with any subsequent thought form. A gross object is limited by both space and time. A subtle object is limited by time alone. Whenever you take a thought, the corresponding gross object can never come in because of its space limitation. If it gives up its space limitation, it ceases to be a gross object, and vice versa. Therefore, a gross object can never be thought of, and a thought form can never become gross. Strictly speaking, you cannot say that an object exists in space, nor can you say that a thought form exists in time. Because space is itself an object and time is itself a thought form. You can never perceive two objects or two thought forms simultaneously. And unless two or more objects are simultaneously perceived, you can never say one thing exists in another.